it's scary. It doesn't feel possible. And it's just what feels easy is I'm just going to do a little bit better. So if I did 100,000, 110, or 115, you did 100,000 and you say, I want to do a million. It's easy to say, well, that's not possible. But it is. I like to use Elon Musk as an example. I know he's a very popular example for a lot of this stuff. They're building rockets to go to Mars. Just building an electric car company like he has is so impressive. And people say, well, you can't do the rocket thing. And they are. So you can do anything. Everybody in this world proves that over and over and over. So I think it's more of a self-confidence and a limiting belief that you can't do it, but somebody else can. They're not special. You can do anything you want to do. You just need to tell yourself that it's okay to do it.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is Justin Moorhead, who's going to share his real estate journey and provide some tips for yours. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and create harmony to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. Today's quote is from Charlie Munger. The game of life is the game of everlasting learning. At least it is if you want to win. Bill Gates, Munger, Buffett all read all the time. So do I. At least 4 books a month in a variety of areas. What about you? Are you learning and growing, or are you stagnant? We all have the same 24 hours a day, and somehow we all manage to get those books in. Not an excuse. Hey, we're back here at Go Abundance in Park City, Utah. And it's all about living that bigger life, right? It's what we talk about on Richer Soul. And now you get to meet people living this life. They vary in age and success, but each of them has found or is finding their path to the ultimate life. And they're going to share how they did that and the lessons they learned along the way. I hope they inspire you to find your tribe and to take action to your ultimate life. These bonus episodes will be out every Thursday. They'll have the GB title so you know that they are different, and they're all part of season 3. So you can find them if you're interested, or skip them if you're not. Series is brought to you by the Profit Answer Man podcast, where we help business owners ensure they are always profitable and can afford the life of their dreams. Check it out if you're a business owner. Jordan's actually going to share how it helped him. So listen in for that. We've got another great success story of how Jordan is building his financial security through real estate. And so he is a realtor and an investor who specializes in helping home buyers or investors build wealth through real estate. He believes that real estate is the easiest, fastest way for anyone to build real wealth and have more freedom in their life through simple strategies like house hacking, Airbnb, live-in flips, and buy and hold rentals. You want to learn how to purchase a home that is a true asset, or want to learn more about how to make an intelligent home purchase that sets you up for the future and for wealth, give him a call. Let's meet our guest. Welcome to Rich Your Soul, Jordan Moorhead. It's great to have you join us today.
Great to be here. I'm really excited.
And I am too, excited to learn from you. Let's start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up? How much did your family and school teach you about money?
So I had two different lessons about money growing up. First, obviously, was from my father. He was incredibly frugal, not so much so that he didn't enjoy himself, but things like turn the light switch off when you go out of the room, make sure you're not using more than you need to. That comes from his side of the family. His mother grew up in the Great Depression, didn't have anything, was the type of lady that would go buy extra chicken when it was on sale because she knew she needed chicken in the future. So if she could get it 30 cents cheaper on sale, she'd stock up and throw it in the freezer. On the other hand, my mother was one that loves store credit cards. So the Macy's, the Target, the Nordstrom credit cards, and at one point had a stack of them. Wasn't great at keeping track of how much she was spending on them. I remember a lot of fights about that coming from the real frugal side to the kind of the side of we're never going to worry about how much money we spend. So two very different educations. I think I got some of both of them. I used to say I got more from my dad and his family, but I do have, I think a little bit of the abundance mindset came from the free spending on the other side, but I still have the grounding of, hey, you need to spend less than you make. You need to make sure you're cautious on how you're spending and what you're spending on.
I think people confuse abundance with no restraint.
Yeah.
And that is not what an abundance mindset is. It's not about just giving it all away in a sense. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, if you don't spend less than you earn, you're going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just the reality. And so I think that's where people get a little bit confused. And when you were talking about the credit card story, it's so funny because I remember being in a department store once and hearing this one, I'm going to say kid, it was a young girl. If she had a credit card, she must have been in her early 20s, right? And she's like, I still have $800 available to spend. And I'm like, oh, she thinks because she has a limit that she's supposed to spend it all. And it was kind of shocking that was the mentality. Like, I am supposed to spend all of this and go right up to the limits. And that didn't seem like there was any concept that it had to be paid back. And it does.
Yeah, that's scary. And I think a lot of people spend exactly what they have and then wonder why they don't have anything. So I was taught the opposite of, make sure you're saving. I was taught very early, open a savings account, put X amount of money into your savings account. And I really made a game out of it from early on of how much could I save. So I remember I was 14, 15 years old and a couple $1,000s in the savings account. That felt pretty good.
It does. And turning it into a game is a great way to make it fun, right? Because nobody wants to spend less. Everybody wants to spend more. But when you turn the tables and you make it to a game of, hey, how can I do this? And you gamify it, it makes spending fun. Say savings fun. And then you can build on it from there. So did school do anything to teach you?
If it did, I can't remember any of it. So I don't think so. I really don't think so. I took one finance or econ class in college. I didn't finish college. I have a GED. I never was taught really anything about money. I think that's a huge problem with the school system is they spend very little time focusing on money. But most of what I was taught about money was from my family.
At least you were lucky to learn from your family.
Yeah, at least I had family members who cared and who were frugal and understood money. I mean, we talked about money a lot, my dad and I. So I remember from a very early age, if I wanted something beyond what food, housing, those sorts of things, if I wanted something, I needed to go earn it. And I wanted a lot of things. So I had a work ethic pretty early on.
So what were some of the things you did early on? Was it more of a time trade for money, or did you do anything more entrepreneurial that you were able to kind of make it more valuable in a sense?
So I started entrepreneurial. I started with the lawn business, and I hear that from a lot of people. A lawn business is just an easy thing to get started with. Started with the lawn business, was making $400 or $500 a week when I was 13 years old. In Kentucky, you can start to work for a corporation or a fast food place when you're 15 years old. So I thought it was a good idea to go get a job. So when I was 15 years old, I stopped the lawn business and went and got a job. From 15 to 21, the goal was how many hours could I work? So I was probably making more money because I was working 80 hours a week, but I was making way more per hour when I was 13 years old than I probably was when I was 19 years old. But I lost that entrepreneurial spirit for a little bit and got back into it in my early 20s.
So what happened then? How'd you get back into it?
So I was going to community college. I saw something on a poster board about a personal trainer certification. And I said, I like going to the gym. That could be fun to do while I'm in college. So I got that at the community college, started training people at a local gym. And I was self-employed at that time. So I was training people. I was making $50, $60, $70 an hour doing that. And I got to the point in community college where I was exceeding what I was going to make after having a 4-year degree in the career path that I was going for. About 2 years into community college, I was making $70,000 or $80,000 a year. Being a personal trainer, again, working a lot of hours, but being a personal trainer, and just decided, hey, I'm going to drop out and I'm going to try to make this a business. So I went, I hired an admin, then I hired a personal trainer to work with us, then I hired another personal trainer to work with us, and I was able to step out of the business and just really push on the sales and marketing side. Grew that to 63 clients, paying an average of $300 a month. So in my early 20s, that was good money. And I was just hooked from there. I wasn't going back to school, wasn't going back to working from somebody else, and just loved everything I did.
What was the original career path for college that you were planning on?
I was planning on going for marketing. And I love marketing. So I love, teaching people and helping people learn. I think that's a big part of marketing, especially content marketing. And that's what most businesses anymore is your content marketing. You're teaching people. I love to teach people. I love to talk about what we do because I really believe what we do helps. And that was the path. But everything they were teaching us in school was so old, too, compared to what we do now. These old marketing books just had nothing to do with social media marketing or video advertising, any of that kind of stuff that we do on the internet anymore.
It's funny because I always rail against colleges. And the one degree is entrepreneurship. Hey, don't go get a degree in entrepreneurship. Go out and be an entrepreneur. The other one is social media marketing. The world of social media marketing changes so fast that how is a college going to create a curriculum, get it approved, and put it into a classroom? Why are you paying? Why don't you just go play on social media like some people do? Learn to create a following, play around, and do it yourself. There's so many experts on social media marketing that you can learn from free. And then you can go pay people a fraction of what you would pay for college and become an expert.
And I think you learn so many other skills that can't be taught in college. So starting my first business, I learned that you might have to put in some long hours. I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning and I'd be at the gym until 9:30 at night, most days out of the week. And I just learned I had a strong work ethic before that. But I learned that I could push through anything. I didn't need to sleep 8-9 hours a night. I sleep 6.5 hours a night now. I'm just used to that. But I would have never learned marketing. I would have never learned advertising, sales. I never would have learned sales not in a sales business. I was so nervous to sell anybody. I used to sweat when I would talk to people. Even when I would talk to new people, I was just that shy of a person. I would sweat. They probably wouldn't see it, but I would know it. When I was selling somebody, those first couple sales meetings as a personal trainer, That's all I did for a couple of years. I only did the sales. Nobody else ever did. I learned how to sell. I learned how to establish relationships with people, and I learned how to market. And I think that's invaluable. Can't teach that stuff at school. I don't know that there's a sales degree. I've never heard of one.
I don't believe there's a sales degree. There might be a class on salesmanship, but again, it's all theoretical until you get out there and get in front of that stranger and start talking to them and go through the emotional side of it. You don't get it. You can talk about the theory, but having the courage to do it is a whole different thing. And it's a skill. I don't care what you do in life. You want a spouse, you're going to have to sell yourself, right? Kids want Christmas presents, they're going to have to sell themselves, right? You as a parent want your kid to do something, you got to sell yourself. You work as an employee, you got to sell yourself, right? You got to sell yourself to get the job, sell yourself to get a raise, sell yourself to get a promotion. So no matter what you do in life, somewhere involved is sales. And it's a skill just like money. And unfortunately, we're not taught.
I think it gets a bad rap too. Sales is not pushing something that somebody wants down their throat or doesn't want down their throat. I think sales is helping people solve problems. People come to you in whatever business you're in because they have a problem they need solved. And it's your job then to help them solve the problem and demonstrate that what you're selling them is going to be of immense value. So I don't look at sales as sales just gets such a bad rap of you're conning somebody into something they don't need. And it's not. Now, I'm sure there's some sales that is that, but it's not really. I worked a phone sales job where we were trying to sell higher priced auto parts to auto parts mechanics. And we were saying, hey, if you buy our higher priced auto parts, you will get a free fishing rod, or you might get a free shotgun if you buy enough of them, or you get XYZ prize or gift if you buy way more of our parts. But the guys would say, hey, this brake pad is 30% more than the brake pad we can get from another distributor. Why should we buy from you? But they were pushing that down their throat of, hey, use your boss's money or use your dealership's money to buy this from us, and we're going to reward you with this gift. I hated that. I did not like that. I only stayed at that job for a few months. And I know there's sales out there like that, but I truly believe if you're in the right business, my first business, personal training, I was helping people get healthy. I was selling them something that actually worked. Our business now, real estate sales, I don't even really think you're selling anything in real estate sales. People come to you and they want to buy a house. You're helping them find the right house. You're solving a problem. Or you're helping them sell their house and make the most money off it so they can go find their next house or retire or do whatever they need to do with that money. So you absolutely have to know sales.
And I think that's a mindset shift. It's not that you're trying to shove something down someone's throat. You're understanding what their needs, wants, and desires are, and you're helping them to be able to achieve that. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. But it's all the way you look at the problem, the way you think about it from that standpoint. So we are here at GoBundance. Why'd you get involved?
So with my first business, I was in a more business-specific mastermind called the Results Fitness University. I actually met another GoBundance member who I introduced to GoBundance at that mastermind. That opened my eyes up to so many more possibilities, and I just learned the power of a mastermind there when I was a lot younger. I started that when I was 23 or 24. I was in it for 4 or 5 years. I was attracted to GoBundance because I know a lot of real estate guys that were or are in it. And it's absolutely not just that. But I was also more attracted to it the more I got to learn about it, because it wasn't about just money or just succeeding in business. It was about how do you be a whole life millionaire and how do you be successful in the 6 pillars that they talk about. How do you be a better charitable giver? How do you be better in your relationships? How do you be more healthy? How do you be radically accountable to all the people around you? How do you build more passive income? So you've got those things for you. And for the life of me, I'm not remembering the 6, and I can always remember 5. But I just love that there's so much more to it than money. Everybody in a mastermind like this is focused on how do I be a good business person? And yeah, you get some great tips and you learn a lot about how to be a better business person in a mastermind like this. But how do you do a lot better with your relationship with your spouse? Or how do you be a better giver or be a better father? There's just so many more pieces to it. I think that's what's most attractive about GoBundance is all the other stuff, not the financial. And that's what attracted me to it.
And that's a big part of it. The same tenets that we talk about on the podcast. It's, slightly different flavor, but all of the same types of tenets. And that's one of the reasons that I love what they're doing here at GoBundance. And Tim's been on the podcast in the past. And so I get the whole philosophy of what it's all about. Let's talk about masterminds, though. You got involved in another mastermind early. What was it that you got from that kept you saying, I want to be in this for years?
Biggest thing was the connections. Of course, that was a more business-specific mastermind. They helped me grow my business from maybe 15 clients to 63 clients in a short amount of time. My revenue doubled or tripled in the first year I was in that mastermind. So obviously, that was a big part of it. But the next biggest part of it was just the connections. It's all these people who want to grow and be a better person or be a better business person. I'm still friends with a lot of them today. I still keep in touch with them. Of course, there's one here that I met there, and I've kept in touch with them over time and said, hey, you might be interested in this mastermind. But I think just in that word, mastermind, so much of it is the hive, the people. It's not just one person or it's not just their ideology. It's all of these people striving to be better people and pulling everybody else along with them. So there's so much more power in a group than in yourself. And in a group of people that all want the same thing, mastermind, even more powerful because they're going to be very transparent with you. They're going to be aggressive with things that you need to hear. If you're saying, hey, I'm just doing this and it's going well. So we read our one sheets, which is essentially like the baseball card of GoBundance saying, hey, these are my stats. We went through our one sheets with our goals for 2020. And one of the members said, those are bullshit goals. You need to do better than that. You did X last year. I know you can do that much better next year. Why are you just incrementally increasing your goals? And I've heard the same thing from people like Gary Keller, where you want to set big goals that you might fail, rather than setting just these tiny incremental goals of, hey, I made $100,000 last year. I'm going to make 110 next year. That's not an exciting goal. If you made 100,000 one year, you want to make 250 the next year. That's going to be a goal that's hard to achieve, and it's going to cause you to think outside the box of how you can get there. And that's how real growth happens. And you need people to push you there sometimes because, obviously I know that inside, but it's easy for me to say, okay, I did this. I'm going to do 10% better next year. Rather than I did this, what about 100% better? And I need people to push me and hold me accountable to that.
Did you hear Mark Moses last night?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
Making big happen.
Yeah.
We recorded yesterday as well. So the audience is familiar with his message, but that's literally what it is, right? Make big happen. Set big, hairy, audacious goals, and then take action, have a scoreboard, and then measure against your scoreboard. Create systems and processes that allow you to do that.
Yeah, add a zero. He said add a zero a couple times.
Yeah, add a zero. I want to do this. Okay. I want to make 100,000. Why not add a zero? It takes 100,000 to 1 million, right? It forces you to think bigger. And I think most people don't think about adding a zero.
It's scary. It doesn't feel possible. It's just, what feels easy is I'm just going to do a little bit better. So if I did 100,000, 110, or 115, you did 100,000 and you say, I'm going to do 1 million. It's easy to say, well, that's not possible. But it is. I like to use Elon Musk as an example. I know he's a very popular example for a lot of this stuff. They're building rockets to go to Mars. Just building an electric car company like he has is so impressive. And people say, well, you can't do the rocket thing. And they are. So you can do anything. Everybody in this world proves that over and over and over. So I think it's more of a self-confidence and a limiting belief that you can't do it, but somebody else can. They're not special. You can do anything you want to do. You just need to tell yourself that it's okay to do it.
You know, that reminds me of something Mark said from stage. He said, I ran a mortgage broker business. He did $1.5 billion in sales, I believe it was. And he's like, I never wrote a single mortgage application. I have no idea how to do it.
Barbara Corcoran was similar. So she had a large real estate brokerage. I think her first year, she might have leased or sold a couple condos or apartments. Never did it after that. So, yeah, it's just, what do you believe you can do? That's probably what you can do, not what's possible. Anything is possible.
That is true. And I have a favorite saying for that. Why not me? Right? Someone's got to win. Someone's got to build $1 billion company. Someone's got to take a rocket ship to Mars. You ask yourself that question. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's that limiting belief. Everyone has a tribe. You look around, you have a tribe of 5 people, 10 people around you. And the question is, what's your tribe doing? If they're watching football on Sunday and, hanging out at the bar, then that's what you're going to do. When you put yourself in a tribe of millionaires, you get yourself a whole different game.
Yes, absolutely. And it's such a cheap price too. People balk at the price of masterminds. I remember I had my not intro call or introductory call to GoBundance, and I thought it was going to be $10,000 a month or so. I thought it was going to be something crazy to get into stuff. My first mastermind in my early 20s was $8,000 a year. I put it on a credit card. I didn't have the money at the time. But of course, the next year, my revenue tripled, and I had no problem paying it from there forward. But I remember talking to this guy at GoBundance, and he said, well, and I could tell he was nervous to tell me the price. I said, well, it's X. That's all? That's all I have to pay to be a part of this thing? And I think it's just such a small price to pay, no matter what. Coaching or being a part of a mastermind where you're going to be pulled up is so important, and it's so worth the money. People like to balk at, I don't want to pay $10,000 for this, or I don't want to pay $15,000 for this. But what's it going to make you? I've made back. I made back the yearly dues in the first 3 months in GoBundance. I know because I sold a couple houses to people who are associated with GoBundance as a salesperson. So right away I made back the money, but not even if that's not a possibility for you. What's it going to help you build your business into, or what's it going to help you build your financial life to, or what's it going to help you with your marriage? Was that worth $10,000 or $15,000? I think so. If your wife doesn't leave you because you're not just solely focused on business, or your kids like you better because you're not just solely focused on business, that's worth an infinite amount of money. And people balk at 10 or 15 grand for a mastermind.
And we've had a lot of guests who spent a lot of money on self-development, 6 figures, 7 figures. So, and they're super successful. And part of it is because they hung out with those people. They invested in themselves. They figured out systems. And it's funny that we sit here and we complain about that, yet an 18-year-old to spend $50,000 to go to some college to get an education that basically does very little for them, unfortunately.
Well, and I think part of the reason why that money's so freely spent is because they don't think about it anymore. It's all debt. It's all going to be piled on later. It's a later version of me's problem. Rather than, spending $10,000 or $15,000 to be in a mastermind, I'll spend $50,000 or $60,000 a year to go to college to learn some worthless classes that I'm never going to use. I don't know that there's. I have 90 hours of college credits. I went to college for a while. I don't know there's anything in college I've used, and I've spent so much money on school. Luckily, I was going to community college and state colleges, so I didn't have any debt, but I spent money on that stuff. It's all just completely useless. And the year in any one of the masterminds I've been in has been worth 10x what I paid for the mastermind.
Much more valuable. So let's go back to the beginning. You gamified money and you're doing well with it. Then you get out and you become an adult and you start making money. Did you forget to gamify it then? Did you forget to put systems in place? And
So I did not at the beginning. So in the beginning, I had a more steady income. All of our personal training clients in my business were on monthly recurring billing. So it was very easy to predict what I was going to make every month. And I just set a bank account to withdraw a certain amount from the business account, put it in the savings account every month. I think I had a little more complex. I think a certain amount got pulled out of the business account every month, got put in the personal account, then got put in the savings account. But once I got into the real estate sales business, didn't have a system for any of that. And I would make a tremendous amount of money, and sometimes I'd pull chunks over. So I might pull $10,000 or $15,000 out of the business account, put in the savings account when I had a really good month or two. But I didn't have a dedicated system to do that. So I remember my first year or two in real estate sales, I knew I had amazing years because I was getting awards at the office ceremony. I was rookie of the year, and I was top 3 agents of the year, the second year there. And I looked at my bank account. I said, where'd all the money go? There's nothing there. And then, of course, the tax man came calling early on in the year and said, well, you owe us $45,000 or $50,000. I didn't have great tax management strategies at the time either. So not only did I not have a lot of the money that I'd made, I always have lived a pretty frugal lifestyle. So it's not like I was driving a Ferrari or driving a Mercedes around. I had a nice car. It was paid for. I lived in a reasonable place. And that was the even more baffling thing. I had no systems, and I should have had so much money because I had no real expenses, but I still somehow managed to spend it all. So it wasn't until I discovered the book Profit First and read it and just put together my own system of taking profit first. So every time I get a commission check, I take 50% of what's in the commission check and I throw it in the savings account. And I don't see it, and I don't touch it after that. And it's there. Of course, I do pay taxes at the end of the year out of that. My tax management strategies are much better. So I actually pay much less tax on much more money now. And I have all this money left over to invest with. It's saved. So since I've put in my own Profit First system, I've been able to invest so much more. I haven't had to worry about taxes when tax time comes. I don't owe money that I don't have. I'm able to put as much as I can in my tax advantaged accounts, IRAs, that kind of stuff. And life is just easy. I live on a budget. I have a certain budget. It's very simple for me. I take my monthly budget and transfer it into my checking account every month. And that's what I get to spend. Again, for me, things have to be very simple. If I have to have a certain budget for every line item, I'm going to go crazy. That's too much work for me. If I just have a lump sum that I can spend every month, that's something I can manage. Same way as managing the cash flow coming in. I'm just taking 50% of it, putting it aside. That's really easy. Anybody can do that. And I don't miss it.
And I think that's one of the things people need to realize. You can have a 50% savings rate, right? And I think for a lot of people, that's outside the norm of what they're told. They're told 10%, 15%. And if you save 10 or 15%, that's wonderful. It's going to take you 40 years to save enough to live the lifestyle you want to live. So it's going to take quite a while. If you save 50%, within a few years, you have financial independence. You get to do what you want. And it doesn't sound like you're missing anything. It's not like you're wanting in life. And you said, no, I do the same thing. I have a set amount of money that I get to spend every month. I don't care how I spend it, as long as I don't overspend it. It makes life pretty simple. You keep your money simple and easy. And these things in life aren't difficult, but doing simple is hard for a lot of people, I think.
I've still kept my hard costs very low. So my housing expense, my transportation expense, things like that, those are non-existent. I don't have a car payment. Of course, I pay gas. I don't have, and that's gone up a lot in last year. I don't have too much of a housing expense. We've employed the house hacking strategy for the past 5 years, where we buy a property, live in part of it, and rent the other part. We make our houses really nice, so we live in nice houses. We increase the value a tremendous amount by doing that. We get to rent them for a lot when we move out, and we don't suffer at all. And we've got a nice house, a nice place to live, all the nice finishes. But because we've made it an investment, we've made it really nice for us right now. Then we move out and we get great rent for it, and the property's worth a lot more after. So we've always been very cautious to live a great life, but spend money where it's important. Spend money on travel and enjoyment rather than paying the mortgage and paying for a car.
And you live in one of the hottest housing markets in the United States, in Austin, Texas. So this isn't something you do in the backwoods. It's something you do in very hot real estate markets.
And just bought our most recent property. So bought one in 2020, bought one in 2021. The goal is, of course, to buy one 2022 or 2023. Sometime in the near future, we'll have to stop moving every year. I think that part's wearing on us a little bit. So we've had about 3 or 4 more of these every year deals in us. Then we're going to transition to more of buy a nicer house with a garage apartment or a granny unit, and just rent that out to reduce our mortgage payment on the house, but have a nice house with a nice yard in a nice area. And we live in good areas, but like you said, it's in the hottest, I would say the hottest housing market in the country. And everybody says, well, you can't invest in real estate in Austin. Well, we do, and we do it over and over and over, and it works really well.
Comes back to, somebody's going to. Why not you?
Exactly. I try to tell people that, anybody can do it, but it's hard work. People don't always like hard work, and they don't like not having that immediate gratification. It takes you a period of time. It takes 3 to 6 months. It takes putting in lots of offers. It's not an easy task, but nothing good is easy. Living on a fixed budget every month is not easy, but 5 years down the road, very rewarding.
It compounds.
Absolutely.
And then you get freedom. And then you can tell the world to go to hell and do what you want.
Well, and I think the problem for most people is they see you and you get freedom and say, oh, I want that. But they don't see that, it took 5 or 6 years of living below our means and doing things that are slightly uncomfortable to get there. But it's very easy, just time and compounding, like you said.
I believe there's a saying, live like nobody else so you can live like nobody else.
Warren Buffett, I believe.
That one's Dave Ramsey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, similar mindsets.
Warren's got the same mindset. I mean, he does live in a nice house, but he doesn't live in a house anywhere equal to what his income and his lifestyle, his net worth is. He lives relatively modestly for his wealth. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference, and be wealthy and enjoy life. It's really not that complicated of a formula. Doing it isn't always that easy.
Just understanding that it takes time, I think, is the hardest part for people of seeing it. If I do this for 5 years, what's it going to look like compared to, well, what can I do now to be happy? And you can order a pizza and it's there in 30 minutes. You can be happy right then. But if you eat healthy for 6 months, you might be in great shape. And then you'll be really happy because you're in great shape, but it's just not that easy of pushing a button. People like pushing a button now, especially with the advent of Amazon and all those things. You push a button and what you want is there right away. And it's easy and it's fun. It just doesn't take any effort. And I think we've lost that, putting in the effort and getting the reward later on.
It's funny, though. If you ask people what they spent on Amazon, they probably don't remember after 3 days. Matter of fact, the box arrives, they're like, oh, wow, what a surprise. They forgot they ordered it.
My only Amazon problem is books. We just have books showing up all the time. We're always saying, oh, well, what's that Amazon package? It's just another book. So I would say I have a spending problem with books, and I don't care. I'm not upset about that.
Neither am I. I have a ton of books, and to me, you spend $20 or $30 to learn someone's wisdom. It's a very, very small price to pay. Is there anything we should have talked about today that we didn't get a chance to?
We didn't talk about reading Profit First. That's a book that I just recommend everybody read. I think no matter what business you're in, something like Profit First is going to change how you manage the money in the business. I see so many people that make a ton of money. I grew up around a lot of people that made a ton of money and just didn't have much after they paid all their bills every month. So they made $200,000 or $300,000 a year and they drove a Porsche, but then '08 rolled around and it wiped a lot of people out because they didn't have any reserves. But you live below your means and you have a system to take money out when you make it, put it aside right away. Like you said, even if it's 10 or 20%, it makes such a difference over time that you can save 50 or 70%. I know people that have done it. I do 50, but I know people that make me look silly.
You got to find the balance that works for you. And I've used the principles of Profit First. I did it when I was an employee and I let it run for years. And it's the reason I'm wealthy. Just taking the percentages out, automating it, making it happen without thinking about it. If people would like to learn more about you, Jordan, what's the best way for them to learn about you, your podcast? Where do they find you?
So our podcast is the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. The best way to learn about me, probably follow me on Instagram at Jordan_Moorhead, and Moorhead is Moorhead, or the Moorhead team. If you just Google the Moorhead team, you'll find everything you want to know.
Cool. And we will put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I love what you guys do here, Rocky.
The reality is Profit First works both in your personal and your business life. It's basically an automated money system. You put it to work and you let it do it for you. You can use things like 401ks or an after-tax brokerage account. There's a whole bunch of ways. Figure out the one that works for you. And also note, real estate is a proven way to build wealth. And there's so many ways to get involved with real estate. You have to figure out if it's part of your wealth. Are you part of a group that pushes you forward and holds you accountable? Being part of something bigger than you helps to push you forward. I'm away at my mastermind meetup, right? Learning to sharpen myself and work on my 3-year goals. I love meeting with those guys. They really help to push me forward. Hey, can you do me a favor? Do you know anyone who would enjoy this episode? Can you share it with them? Because it would help them grow and inspire them to take action. I would appreciate that. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.